suck again!
Don't worry, Raider Nation. It's only the first game. I know some of you are throwing in the towel already. Abandon shit. Bring in AOC. Fire Getsy. I get it. I can feel your frustration. Before I dive any deeper into the postgame, this loss falls on Coach AP. He played way too conservative.
You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game.
Now, these are only my opinions and my point of views that I'm speaking of. I'm only speaking for myself. There are other factors to this loss, which I'll get into later in the video. There weren't a lot of whole surprises in the first half between the Raiders and the Chargers. The Raiders defense was playing well, and it was a one-score game at the half. After 2 3-and-outs, the Raiders went on a touchdown drive, with Alexander Mattison making the highlight reel play, hurdling a defender to go 31 yards for the score. Otherwise, the Raiders offense struggled, including a couple of turnovers on fumbles. Meanwhile, the defense was dialing up great pressure on Justin Herbert to hold the Chargers to a couple field goals. It would come down to who made the adjustments at the half, and it was the Chargers who came out victorious on that end. Most of it came on the ground. If you know Jim Harbaugh, he likes to run the ball a lot. After holding the Chargers to under 30 yards rushing in the first half, the Chargers eventually wore down our Raider defense and scored 2 touchdowns to literally run away with a 22-10 victory. The Raiders started to swing momentum back their way and were winning the field position, battled down to 6 points. But the questionable decision to punt on 4th and 1 in LA territory would burn us, as the Chargers broke off a 61-yard J.K. Dobbins run and it finished it off with a touchdown to call the game. The Raiders defense was excellent in the first half against the Chargers, but it ran out of gas down the stretch. The second half was marred by missed tackles, poor angles, and blown assignments both in the run game and after the catch on completed passes. After being limited to 83 total yards in the first half, the Chargers amassed 158 rushing yards in the second half alone. The Raiders' offense, which mustered just 3 points in the second half, deserves plenty of blame as it left the defense out to dry. Still, the Raiders consistently struggled to stop the run in the preseason, and it looks like that could continue to be an issue that teams can exploit in the regular season, unfortunately. And the questionable call that I go to, with Antonio Pierce is that, we got stuffed on the 3rd and 1 in the fourth. So we got stuffed on 3rd and 1 and on the 4th and 1 3 times by the Chargers in the first half. And it set the stage for some lack of courage by AP when the game was hanging in on the balance. The Raiders kicked the field goal on the 4th and 1 to cut the deficit to 16-10, but then they punted on 4th and 1 from the Chargers' 43-yard line, which was down to 6 points. It's the first 4th and 1 punt by a team in plus territory when down a score in the fourth quarter since Rex Ryan's Bills did it against the Baltimore Ravens in the 2016 opener. The Raiders' offensive line struggled as the Raiders ran for only 71 yards on 22 carries, and Gardner Minshew was sacked 4 times. Devontae Adams was only targeted 6 times and had 5 catches for 59 yards, keeping the Chargers out of the end zone and to just 9 points before the fourth quarter. Granted, Los Angeles did break through towards the end of the game as J.K. Dobbins drifted off a couple long runs and the 12-yard touchdown to begin the final frame to give the Chargers a 2-possession lead. But it was the touchdown from Chargers wideout, their rookie Ladd McConkey, that sealed the deal and wrapped the game up. The Raiders' offense and Antonio Pierce's questionable game calling was the bigger problem. Raiders and Chargers, they also got into a little scuffle on the Chargers' last touchdown, which was just embarrassing, and Jack Jones got ejected. Alexander Mattison did make that nice play for the Raiders' lone touchdown, but we cannot establish a solid true run game. And I'm not giving up on Zamir White yet, but I'm expecting a better output from him going forward. Jim Harbaugh, he got his first win as a Charger debut when it should have been his Charger debut defeat. We let this game slip. I felt like we let this game slip out of our hands. Gardner Minshew was just not making enough plays when the team really needed it, when it counted most. Max Crosby's sack, he finished with 3 quarterback hits. Christian Wilkins looked really good in his Raider regular season debut. Brock Bowers looked really good as well. Tyree Wilson left the game with a knee injury. We can't let our emotions get the best of us on the field. I know we are Raiders and we want to have that Raider way, but let's act like we are professionals and we've been here before. Raider Nation, it's not the end of the world, and definitely not the end of the season, as there's plenty of football left. As that, this is a game that the Raiders could and should have definitely won, but we lost, and we gotta move on. Next up, Baltimore facing John Harbaugh and company. If we want to win this game, there's definitely no room for error, and we must definitely bring our A game if we do want to succeed. I'll see you guys next week.
Can't wait.